Where did you bump into your ex, and how was that? At a grocery store. She looked familiar and was staring at me, but I was in the middle of a phone call so kept walking. Didn't register who it was until 10 minutes later. Holy smokes. The lizard part of your brain recognized her before mission controlled it and was like, not today. We ain't got time. I crashed into her new BF's car while they were going to a wedding. First time seeing her in over 3 years. Like damn. We are no longer together and you still managed to ruin my day. Met her at a mutual friend function with her new boyfriend. He seemed nice until he wanted to fight me for undisclosed reasons. Long story short, he got into a screaming match with her in the middle of the pub before they both stormed off. The ribs were good, sliders not so much. Bet that scene tasted better than the ribs. While on the first date with someone new, few months after our breakup, we were both in our late 20s. It was a mini zoo, and she was there with her dad. It was awkward as they wanted to chat, and the girl I came with didn't really feel comfortable. At an obscure spring near the bottom of the Grand Canyon. We hadn't talked in a year. I was 9 days into a commercial rafting trip down the river, taking a side hike up to the springs. She was on a weekish backpacking trip with her dad. We got there within 20 minutes of each other. Grand Canyon NP covers 1,904 square miles. The vast majority of it accessible only on foot, but apparently it is not big enough for the both of us. At a wedding, she was drunk and tried to make out with me in front of her boyfriend, whom the bride and maid of honor told me was an absolute jerk, so I should screw her in the limo. But I'm not getting involved in that nonsense. Good choice. The club. She was high on ketamine. She walked into the petrol site I was managing. I saw her and walked out the back. I didn't want to speak to her ever again. Sounds almost exactly what happened to me 3 weeks ago. I saw an ex of mine where we had a very bad breakup. Heartache on both sides. This was 2004. Last time I had seen her was in 2006. I finally forgot about her, but it took a few years. I thought I'd never see her again. But lo and behold, on a Saturday I was enjoying my beer, having a great time in my favorite bar, and suddenly she stood a few feet from me right outside the door. For a fleeting second she catches my eyes. I immediately laid down my beer and left the place. My night and following week was ruined. At a charity event, my employer was donating a bunch of money to the non-profit where she worked. I went not knowing that. I hated every minute of it. She kept wanting to be friendly and buddy. You don't cheat on a man and try to baby trap him with another man's child then expect anything except contempt. She was kissing Yura because she didn't want her co-workers to know what she did to you. At a bar 2 weeks ago, we were together for 6 years, but broke up 8 years ago. She was an awful person. As soon as she saw me and my current fiancé, she tried to put on a big extravagant show which was hilarious. Also, when I was walking back from the toilet past her table, she asked me if she could have a word for a minute, to which I replied with a jovial nope. I almost wish my breakup with my ex had been a slam dunk, so that I wouldn't feel bad about noping out of an encounter. I felt conflicted, like I almost wanted to go after her, but at the same time, if I had seen her first and she didn't notice me, I might have just abandoned my cart and left the store. Okay, I wouldn't call her an ex, but she was something. She was a bit crazy and wanted me to keep sleeping with her, even after I found she was engaged. She had absolutely no concept of personal boundaries, so I ghosted her. I made a joke with my friends once that, if they ever saw her around town, to tell her I was dead. Turns out they actually did do it, and I didn't know. So one day she sees me in the mall and lost it. TLDR, her kid and husband did not seem very entertained with the crying and kissing. At California Pizza Kitchen, while I was with my new GF, and she was with her family, I noticed her stepdad and sister, then I noticed her, and told my GF I think we should go lol. Canadian Tire. An employee was helping me search up tires for my car. After choosing some, he says go to the next counter to make an appointment for installation. I walk up, and it's my ex. Shocked as if, I chuckle and say, well, this is odd. She acted as if I was just a regular customer. Maybe that was the best thing to do. Then next week after my appointment she's there again to take my payment. This time she was more dolled up. Almost like she was expecting someone. Again she didn't acknowledge me as an ex and said have fun when I was on my way out. What made the whole thing even funnier is that her new boyfriend was the one to work on my car. Was out having lunch with a girlfriend. Watching people walk by. Was looking at two cops and thinking about the female cop, she looks really familiar. Then I realized she was a bit of a crazy ex, but by then she'd seen me see her and I had to say hi and make pleasantries for a bit before she left. 2017 I think. I saw her, pregnant at that time. Her mom and her husband at Chick-fil-A. She waved. Her mom waved. Husband shot me a dirty look, saw her again like a year later at Starbucks. She had her daughter with her and she was with a friend. I said hi. She said hi. I said her daughter was cute. That was about it lol. We are still Facebook friends, but don't interact really. She had another kid recently. I'm pretty happy for her tbh. I walked into my ex at the train station about 1 year after we broke up. I moved on with my life at that point, but there were some feelings there still. We talked for about 10 minutes and we both felt comfortable and wanted to grab a cafe somewhere to talk and catch up. Needless to say this was a bad idea on my part since I still had feelings for her and the breakup didn't end on good terms. She basically cheated on me at the end of the breakup. I acted like I got all past that, but that didn't work out in the end. I just ignored these bad memories since I still had feelings at that point and didn't know what boundaries were. In the end she told me she's dating with some dude that I knew, and that made me feel even worse. After that I completely broke contact with her and everyone that links me to her, since having any form of contact would bring me down a spiral of negative emotions. I can say I'm doing better now fortunately. This was my first relationship ever, so it was a tough pill to swallow. On a US military base in Japan, she called off our wedding several years prior because she couldn't marry someone in the military and leave her hometown. It was funny to see her married to a military guy and now stationed on the same tiny base as my family overseas. Walking down the street, just bumped into her as we were going into the same shop. I was the third wheel for a little while in her relationship. We met and I didn't know she was with anyone at all. Found out after a few weeks she had a long-term boyfriend since they were school kids. I was mad about her. She was outgoing and fun, and I needed that. We had a thing for a short while, and then she got all dramatic and broke up, and I was devastated. I was a bit mopey and heartbroken for a good while, and then I met my now wife and happy. So when I bumped into her 12 years later, we recognized each other instantly. Even though I've lost most of my hair and had a few cakes in the meantime, she's still more or less the same. Just an older version. She made a big deal of how she's still with the guy she was cheating on with me, and showed me her kids, and how she was happily married 10 years, had a successful job and her hubby was a success. I've done well too. So we chatted about stuff for a few minutes and went our separate ways. A few weeks later I met our mutual friend and I said I'd bumped into her, and she told me the truth. Yes, Lisa was married to the same guy, but they had both had numerous affairs. One of the kids definitely wasn't his, and the other was 50 over 50, and her husband was in trouble with the police on more than one occasion for being a little free with his hands, both violently and with his female co-workers, so yeah. Bullet dodged. Camera slow emos. Noises fades out. Music comes in. Both of you laughs, man. Some people may not stay in our lives, just stays in our hearts. Heartwarming story, man. I actually bumped into her the other day. I actually posted something about it, and it was at the store, and it caught me completely off guard. And what made it even more awkward is that I was with another girl and they've never liked each other. And not to mention that I felt like I did the very first time that I saw her. So it kinda brought those old feelings back, but I also noticed that she started using again, so that made me sad, but all in all we talked for a few minutes and that was that. That was a beautiful short BTW. Old flames meeting in their future. I could see it all. It seemed awkward and beautiful. Haven't bumped into her in real life since but she did start messaging me randomly a while ago, and it was weird as f I waited so long to talk to her and realized within 5 minutes that I'm so glad it ended. I'm hoping for the exact same thing for myself. It's been over a year. I just want to be fully free without the thoughts anymore. I dated this girl back in HS for 9 months. We lost our virginities to each other lol. We'd bump into each other over the years partying in our early to mid 20s, but haven't seen each other for about 10 years at this point. I went solo to a small and intimate entrepreneurial event and saw her as I took my seat. I waved at her when she looked over, but she didn't mind me. I was embarrassed and confused as we were always friendly with each other after the breakup. She came over to say hi after the event when she noticed me. Apparently she didn't see me earlier on lol. I've got a few stories, but no time to type them out. Just wanted to say, I feel the tone of your post. I've been there. Let yourself feel those mixed emotions, and don't hide from them. It sounds like you both have kids, so I'm going to assume you're both in committed relationships. If not, forgive me. I know there are all different types of families. Anyway, rose-colored glasses are real as f, especially after a decade. I went through this already. Don't let your mind wander too far and process the feelings. I know how jarring these experiences can be. Edit. I know this edit is f-ed up. But come to think of it, I was contacted by an ex on Facebook. We lost our virginities to each other when we were like 14. 10 years later we did that thing where we said we should meet for coffee etc. on casual FB chat while drunk or whatever. It didn't happen for years. Then we did. We are married with 3 kids now, and it's going pretty great. So I don't know what to say about any of this. Ran into one at our hometown airport once. We'd been together for a year and childhood friends from school for over a decade before that. It had been 2 years since we'd spoken to one another after we both moved to different cities for our careers. We'd never to this day ever fought or argued. Anyway, she had seen me across the terminal and came running up to say hi and gave me a huge hug. She had the biggest smile on her face and looked the same. I was nervous and acted awkward because I was so surprised. Looking back, I wish I acted more relaxed in the moment, but I'd figured I'd never see her ever again. After she and I had moved across the country, we talked a bit while walking to our respective gates and then said our goodbyes before boarding our planes. We've tried reconnecting a couple times since then. I'd reach out to her, but she wasn't willing. She'd reach out to me, but then I was not willing. Our timing is terrible. I think after this last attempt to reconnect a few months ago, we are both really moving on, as we still live across the country from one another, and we are both getting older, neither of us married or with kids. It sucks because she really does have a good soul, great personality. She was a good friend, and of course beautiful. We haven't seen each other in person since the airport. That was 4 years ago now. He came back to the church we attended together. He later told me it was different. I said yes, because we are different now. He's currently serving time for murder for his former roommate while he was drunk. I dodged that bullet. Literally. I haven't seen her since I sung at a mutual friend's wedding back in 2009. I never want to see nor hear about her ever again, especially after all the abuse she did to me. In a gas station, I was refueling on my way to see my then G/F when I was grabbing a soda in the back. I turn around and see her mingling around up front. I froze, then immediately ducked down and ran around the corner and into the bathroom, where I sat for 15 minutes. I came back out slowly and came out and slowly walked down the aisle looking around to make sure it was clear. The guy at the counter was like, "Hey, did you just come out of the bathroom with merchandise? You can't do that." I apologized and explained to him, "You look too paranoid for that to be a lie.